Hi, I'm Hayes.
And I'm Layla.
And we're blind. I bet you didn't see that one coming.
Because we didn't either. Hi everyone, I'm Layla.
And I'm Hayes.
And welcome back to Didn't See That Coming. So today is another exciting day. I feel like all our episodes are exciting, but I can't say that every episode. But today's a very exciting episode because we have a guest, and not only that, but this is a guest that I've kind of been wanting to come on for a while. I think Hayes has been wanting to come on for a while, but we're both teenagers and we procrastinate on asking stuff. But yeah, this is going to be super fun. I'm so excited. So would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Campbell Rutherford. I am a senior in college currently. I've known of Layla and Hayes for several years and got to spend some time with them this summer, which was fun. I am, for most intents and purposes, completely blind. I have Leber's congenital amaurosis, or LCA, and I am studying applied math in college on the biological sciences track, and I'm studying at Harvard. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. I know none of you have probably heard of that school, so.
No.
Yeah. Or anything. But fun fact, everyone on this call has LCA, so.
Wow.
And we've had one other LCA guest, so. Obviously that's our favorite.
Yeah, LCA rules.
We're not biased at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Well, okay, Campbell. So first of all, thank you so much for coming on. But can you just tell us a little bit first about just kind of where you grew up, kind of your childhood, and how you started getting into all this high academic math, science. I don't even know half the words you just said because they're not in my vocabulary. Just tell us a little bit about kind of how that started in your childhood.
Sure. I grew up in Dandridge, Tennessee, which no one has ever heard of, not even people who live in Tennessee. It's a very, very rural area. I love it, but it does come with some downsides when it comes to accessibility, especially in the school system. So I first started out in preschool. I started at a Montessori school, which, for those who aren't familiar with the Montessori method, everything is done hands-on, so it's great for blind students. Check out the Montessori method if you've never heard of it. It's really cool. But then I transitioned to our local public school in first grade, and I actually did not have a teacher of the visually impaired, or TVI, full-time. I had one who was part-time from the School for the Blind who would see me once a week, and she was supposed to be covering vision-related stuff and orientation and mobility, and she actually ended up prioritizing academics during elementary school because she knew that if I started to get behind, that would probably only continue and I wouldn't have a whole lot of support academically to help me catch up. I did have a classroom aide who was just a family friend who, out of the goodness of her heart, decided to essentially function as a TVI while getting paid as an aide. So she's amazing. Shout out to her. But then when I was in fourth grade, at the end of my fourth grade year, the lady who was serving as my TVI was going to move to a more permanent job at the Tennessee School for the Blind. So after I left elementary school, I wasn't going to have any kind of academic support from the school system. So the school system wanted to send me to the School for the Blind, and the School for the Blind is like 4 hours away from us, and my parents were like, no, we're not doing that. We don't want to move away from our extended family, and we also don't want to send her there on Sundays and then have her only be home on the weekends. So my mom was like, well, what if we tried homeschooling, and we could maybe still get some services like Braille books and such from the school system, but it wouldn't cost as much for them because they wouldn't have to be paying for me to be there full time and all of the accommodations that would require. So we're like, okay, we'll try this for a year and see how it goes. A year turned into 2, then 4, and then the rest of my school before college. So the majority of my life I was homeschooled, and I loved it. We still faced some difficulties with the school system. They couldn't provide assistive tech training for a while, assistive technology training, which I knew for a long time that I wanted to go into some sort of math or science field, and if in case you're not aware, you need to be able to use a computer at a fairly advanced level if you're going to go into either of those, a field in either of those areas. So I think we started requesting assistive tech training when I was a freshman in high school, and it took 2 years and 10 meetings with the school system to finally get them to pay for a few lessons with a company called Tech Vision. So I worked with them for a while, and then I actually ended up teaching for them for a while as well, because I wanted to be able to help other students. As far as you asked about how I got into all of the academic stuff, I have been a nerd for as long as any of my family can remember. So I think it was just kind of inevitable that I would want to go the academic route, and then it turned out that I was good at math and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and then I took calculus and absolutely fell in love with it. So I was like,
you don't hear that often.
Okay.
Said no one ever.
Right. My friends make fun of me for it all the time. But you just have to be shameless about it, you know? So I was like, okay, I can study a STEM field. I thought about doing engineering for a while, but then I was like, I don't actually like to build things enough to want to do engineering. So then I thought computer science for a while. And then I had a mentor who went to Yale in the 90s and studied applied math. And I was like, oh, maybe I could do that. Because there are several problems that I think I would be interested in applying math to try to solve. And so that is how I ended up settling on applied math.
Wow. Well, I'm jealous of that math brain because I do not have it.
Real. Layla also doesn't use Braille when she does math, so there's that.
Oh, no.
Listen, I'm working on it. I'm just lazy.
That's quite a confession. I don't know how you do it. I would not survive without Braille.
Well,
yeah, no, same, and I'm not even doing calculus.
I don't know, man.
You had been at home for, doing school for, a long time. Would you say, the transition from being at home to college was a lot, or do you think that transition is just a lot for people in general? How was that for you?
I think that transition is a lot for people in general. I do actually think that some of the things that I learned when I was homeschooled helped me. When you're homeschooled, you have to be very good at time management, or if you're not, you have to develop that skill, because if you don't, you will find that you are at the cusp of a new academic year with a whole bunch of work from the previous academic year that you still haven't finished, and that is not a good situation to end up in. So, like I said, you learn to be good at time management, and then also, at least the way we did it, my parents were more facilitators than teachers, and so at the beginning of each year, we would kind of plan our syllabus together for each course, and then as the year progressed, it would be up to me to adjust that plan and, run it by them. If, things came up, or something took longer than I expected it to, or, something like that. So to be in an environment where they literally give you the syllabus and they're like, just do this work, and there doesn't have to be any modification of the syllabus on my end, that actually was easier in some ways than homeschooling. And I also did some dual enrollment classes in high school, which is where you take classes at a local community college. And I did that in part because I wanted to make sure I had some classroom experience, and also in part to make sure that I had some practice advocating for myself when it came to my accommodations in an environment that was relatively safe, and while I was still at home with my parents. And that was very helpful because it was much easier dealing with both the community college and Harvard than it ever was dealing with the public school system. So it was encouraging, and then it also kind of opened my eyes to some of the things that might be available as far as accommodations. So I knew the kinds of things to ask for once I went to a 4-year school.
Gotcha. I do have one more question about homeschooling before we move on, or probably, unless Hayes says something else, that she didn't ESP to me, guys. But anyways, being homeschooled, did you have a lot of interaction with either blind or sighted, like peers your age?
Mm-hmm. I had a decent amount of interaction, I would say. Even before I started homeschooling, I went to summer camp and the Braille Challenge at the Tennessee School for the Blind and made several friends there. And then I also met some friends online, or my parents met other parents online, and then I became friends with their kids. As far as sighted peers, I met a lot of them through my parents' friends, but then also piano. I was very involved in piano, and we would do competitions and things like that. So I made some of my friends there. And so I'm pretty introverted, so I would say that I socialized as much as I wanted to with people my own age. My sister, she's sighted, but she is a social butterfly, and she's all the time socializing with people that she's met through dance or theater or whatever. So there are plenty of opportunities to socialize as much or as little as you would like as a homeschooler, if you know how to look for the opportunities. But you do have to be a bit more intentional, I think, than you would be in public school. So yeah, I think I had as much social interaction as I needed, and my sister, her threshold for as much as she needs is much higher than mine, and she also gets that.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we could talk some about Harvard. How has it been? Like, have they been good at, like, providing you, like, college materials? How has all that, like, worked for you? Because, like, I guess I'm used to the school, like, having to provide me things. Does Harvard kind of help you out with that, or is it mostly you working with your professors? Like, how are you getting your stuff, I guess?
Harvard has been very helpful, and they have a lot of resources at their disposal, which definitely helps. But the way they have it set up is they have, so there's Harvard College and then all the Harvard graduate schools. So they have University Disability Resources, which is the, like, central hub for everything. Undergrad, graduate students. And then for undergrad and then some grad students, they have the Disability Access Office. And so my point person, I guess, that I interact with to make sure that I have all of the accommodations that I need is through the Disability Access Office. But then they also have an Assistive Technology Center, which is adjacent to, but also separate from, the Disability Access Office. And those are the people who are in charge of producing all of my materials in an accessible format. So those are the people that I'm usually working with and that my professors are working with most closely. So at the beginning of every semester, I meet with my professors for each class, and then in each of those meetings, or the meetings with each professor, someone from the Assistive Technology Center and someone from the Disability Access Office is also there, just so the professors have an opportunity to learn about my accommodations and ask any questions that they might have. And then throughout the semester, usually if some sort of issue comes up, which is fairly rare, but it does happen, I address it with the professor first, and usually, like, it can be resolved with the professor. Sometimes they might require a little bit of additional support from the Assistive Technology Center, or in one case, like where I needed a bit more extended time than I was getting, I had talked about it with my professor, and then my professor actually reached out to the Disability Access Office and requested that we change my accommodation a little bit. It was similar at the community college where I went, except that instead of an assistive technology center, they have like an assistive technology person in their disability services office, and she was great. So the results were very similar, but it was definitely a smaller department, in part because they have fewer resources, and then also in part because it's just a smaller environment.
Gotcha. So I'm asking this out of curiosity because I actually don't know the answer to this. Would you say, like, how many other disabled students would you say there are at Harvard?
Disabled in general, I'm not sure. I'd say there are quite a few. I know that at least in my time, there were, at one point, I think we had at least 9 blind students, which is a lot.
Oh, wow. That's more than I expected.
Yeah, no,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. As far as disabilities in general, though, I'm not sure, just because, like, a lot of times you just don't know if there are, like, invisible disabilities and such.
Yeah.
But I think there were way more blind students than I expected, and we always joke about it. We're like, are we just abnormally smart? Like, why are there so many of us here?
Those LCA geniuses.
I know.
Yes.
My TVI always tells my teachers, she's like, LCA comes with giftedness, and it's like really embarrassing because then I have to measure up to the giftedness, but I feel like that's like a thing.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So I've heard before, like, I don't know, if this is, like, true in your experience, but one thing that was recommended to me was to sign up for more classes than I need potentially in college in case there's issues with the professor. Have you ever had an experience where you just couldn't work with the professor, so you had to, like, drop a class, or?
I've only had one experience that would come close to that, and it was a computer science class, and the professor was doing everything right. Like, the assistive technology, it wasn't an access issue, really, that I had. It was more that they didn't quite know how to set up a blind person for success when they're learning to code. And it just so happened that at that time, the American Council of the Blind was offering a course that was very similar to the computer science course that I was trying to take. And so I was like, you know what? I should probably, for now, drop this computer science course, take the one from ACB, and then, if necessary, come back to the computer science course later when I've learned the setup necessary to make sure that coding and stuff is accessible to me. And so that's actually what I did. I dropped the class for that semester, took the ACB course, which I didn't get college credit for, but it gave me the necessary knowledge. And then I actually went back and took that computer science course and had a really good experience, and it did fill in some gaps for me that weren't covered as in-depth, I think, in the ACB course. So that was the only experience like that I've had. I will say I have not heard the recommendation to sign up for more classes than you need because of accommodations before. It's definitely possible to do that, but I always felt kind of bad doing that because it's like, I don't want to unnecessarily freak out a professor to make them think they might have to have a blind student, and also have the disability services people be preparing for having me in whatever class and getting all the materials ready, and then being like, actually, never mind, I'm not taking that one. So I think that would be an individual, like, that would be something to figure out on a case-by-case basis. It's not something I've ever done, but I can understand the logic behind it.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, that's good, though. That, like, it
that's
hasn't
really
been
convenient that that class came out, like, around the same time, too.
I know.
Yeah, it was very serendipitous. It was a really cool situation.
That is really cool. So I have one more question about college before we move into talking about math. Do you have, like, pieces of advice that we haven't discussed already for blind or visually impaired kids that are making the transition to college soon? Like, anything you wish you would have done, or just anything?
I have one that's specific to blind students, and then one that's specific to students in general. Specific to blind students, I would say go into it with the mindset of you're going to be collaborating with your professors and disability services people, and not guns blazing. If you are, denied accommodations or something for some reason, then you can, be more assertive if you need to. But when you're going into it, understand that, like, blindness really is a low incidence disability. It's likely that your professors have never had blind students before, and they might be a little bit intimidated. And it's okay you're not demeaning yourself if you try to make them feel a little bit more at ease, because at least in my experience, they really want to help. They just need to know how. So I think that's what I would say, going into it. And then also, like, do things in advance as much as you can. Talk to disability services at different colleges that you're considering. See what they offer. And that was the deciding factor for me was disability services. I was deciding between Harvard and Georgia Tech, where I had gotten a scholarship. And Georgia Tech checked a lot of the boxes, but Harvard went above and beyond. So I would say, get in touch with disability services, see what they'll offer you, and then go into it with a collaboration mindset. For students in general, just be healthy in college. Like, I know there's a stereotype of, eating really unhealthy things, not sleeping. And at Harvard, we actually call it hustle culture, where you're like, oh, I didn't sleep because I was doing, 4 math assignments or something this week. It's like a competition to see who can be the most miserable sometimes with their workload. Don't fall into that. Be healthy, get sleep, eat right, because I actually started not doing some of that, and then actually started dealing with some health issues and had to kind of readjust a little bit. So don't do that to yourself. You're investing in your future. You're investing in your future self, and hopefully giving yourself a slightly longer lifespan by just being healthy. Because, like, what good is it if you succeed academically, but then you burn out when you're really young? So yeah, that's what I would say to students in general.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, I think that could also probably apply to our whole lives too. Yeah. Just like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
I guess if you want to speak on, like, math and, like, how it was for you getting into math, which is kind of a field that I feel like a lot of people consider, like, visual, and, like, me and Layla both, I would say, are not, like, super mathy people. So
yeah.
I would also agree that it's visual if that means that I can get out of doing math. But clearly math is something that, you are actually, like, really talented at. So, like, how has that been getting into a field that, like, a lot of people do consider very, like, visual? Like, have you had any, like, pushback? Like, people being like, you shouldn't, like, pick this major because it's going to be hard for you?
I have not had any pushback from people in my personal life. I do know of people online, the online trolls, who are like, blind students can't do math. And I've heard of other people who have had teachers who have told them, like, blind people just aren't good at math in general. People in my personal life whose opinions I actually care about have been very encouraging. And so that has been really good. I think there have been some classes where professors have been kind of wary at first, and they want to make sure that my assistive technology can handle all of the math that they're requiring. But once they figure that out, they're usually fine. There are some areas of math that are more visual than others. So I took a differential equations class. It was called Nonlinear Dynamical Systems. And a lot of the analyses that we were doing of these systems of equations were very visual. So that was one of those classes where it was cool to get the content. And I think if I had had a little bit more time, I could have figured out some cool non-visual ways to access the materials. And my professor was very willing to help me do that. But, like, in the moment, I was just trying to get through the class. And so it was a lot of tactile graphics, a lot of, talking with the professor to make sure I understood things. But then, like, with linear algebra, that's a very, I wouldn't say non-visual, but very easy to make accessible area of math. And then also for calculus, which is generally thought of as being pretty visual, for single variable calculus, you can do a lot of, like, the visualizations using tools like Desmos, which is an online graphing calculator that is accessible and allows you to explore graphs auditorily. And then for multivariable, I actually ended up this wasn't at Harvard, this was at the community college where I took some classes. My professor actually 3D printed some models for me.
Oh, wow.
That ended up being really helpful. And then also at that point, I had enough of a foundation in single variable calculus that it was relatively easy to translate a lot of those concepts over to multivariable. I will say the fact that my dad, who is an engineer, was very helpful. My dad was very helpful in getting me to understand graphing in general when I first encountered it in algebra, when you're just, graphing linear equations. And if I hadn't had that foundation with him, he did some hands-on stuff with me, I think graphing would have continued to be very, very difficult to understand. So I hope all of that made sense.
Gotcha. So we've been talking about assistive technology a lot this episode, but can we just go into like I know you talked about Desmos, but what technology do you use? And just in general, what has helped you in math? What do you use to get those visual stuff, or what do you use to access the problems in general? How do you submit your work? Just all the mechanics. Can we talk about that?
Sure. So on a high level, I use a Windows computer with JAWS, which is a screen reader, and a Braille display, which is a device that basically allows everything on your screen to appear in Braille, for those who might not know. And so I use that to access pretty much all of my schoolwork. When it comes to math, I typically access documents either in Word or HTML format. HTML is your website format. And if the math is coded correctly, then JAWS will read it correctly, and then also on my Braille display, it'll appear in Nemeth Braille, which is the Braille math code. So that's how I read math. And sometimes, that's something that the Assistive Technology Center has to do. Sometimes is to convert inaccessible PDFs into formats that my screen reader can handle. It's becoming less of an issue now as materials kind of move to being more online, and teachers are kind of coding math more or less correctly from the get-go, but it still does come up. And so when I'm actually submitting my work, if I'm doing math, I'll usually type it in a Word document. I'll either use something called the Braille Math Editor, which is a built-in feature of JAWS, and it allows you to enter your math in the Braille math code, and then it comes out in a format that's accessible to both blind and sighted users. Or I use a code called LaTeX or LaTeX, you'll hear both, which is actually a code that sighted people used for a long time to write math and scientific papers, but you can use it with a plugin in Microsoft Word called MathType, or I think now even with a built-in equation editor in Word.
Awesome. We actually just talked about this in our last episode. Do you use MathKicker?
I do not, actually.
Really?
I feel like so once I entered college, I kind of entered a state of limbo when it came to my technology development, because I had sort of figured out the things that worked, mm-hmm. and continued to use those. So I'm sure there have been developments that I have not caught on to yet.
Oh, so had you not heard of MathKicker? Well, was that not around whenever you started college?
I'm not sure, because I may have heard of it and I just don't know the name. So can you explain it to me?
Oh, so it's basically just you put it into the AI and then it comes out basically JAWS ready for you. Denise Robinson from Tech Vision, she's a big advocate for it. She's the one who told me about it.
Okay, yes. I actually have seen her talk about it a little bit, mm-hmm. Now that you mention it. It was not around, to my knowledge, when I first started, but
okay.
Yeah, I think if it works well, then it would be very, very helpful. And it's probably something I will be looking into. Just to
I'm kind of surprised.
Hayes, do you use that
all the time? MathKicker?
Yeah, you use that, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know you like people doing it for you, but
I'm just lazy. I don't want to do it myself.
I also had to do it this year, so yeah, I don't blame you.
I don't think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, when I entered college in 2022, the most recent innovation that I remember was the Braille Math Editor. So again, I kind of just entered a state of limbo for a little bit while in college. So I will have to get caught up on all of the new things that are probably making people's lives even easier now.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I have anything else. Hayes, did you have anything?
I mean, we can ask our
else?
final
Campbell,
question.
did you?
I don't-
Well,
I
okay.
don't think we'll
Before
have an
we ask
answer.
our final question, Campbell, did you have anything else that you wanted to bring up that we didn't ask?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, blind students, take assistive technology training seriously. Get it as soon as you can. Advocate for it if you're not getting it in the public school system. That is really one of the main things that will help you succeed in college and in the workforce. There's no getting around it. You need to be able to use a computer. So, yeah.
Sorry, guys.
If
And you need to know how to turn your phone on
You
silent.
need to know how to
and
mute your phone,
podcast.
apparently, because... No, I had to call Hayes because I was having technical difficulties, so I turned it off silent. My bad.
You're good. But yeah, take your assistive technology training seriously. Get as much as you can out of it. If you have to self-teach to an extent, then self-teach. It's crucial that you get computer skills.
Yeah, I
that's
100%
great advice.
agree.
I agree.
Well, now I think we asked this question to everyone on the podcast.
I don't know if you'll have
so
an
we had
answer.
to ask you. If you don't have an answer, it's okay. Some people choose not to answer. Do you have a favorite co-host?
Oh. I don't have an answer because, No, I don't have an answer. I don't think I do.
You're not an avid listener of our podcast.
What the heck?
Do better.
But I can't... Also, because I know both of you personally, I can't choose between you for that reason either.
I feel
okay,
like
a lot of
met
people
us
say the
probably
same
the same
thing.
amount of time, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Because, I met both of you when you were little, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's
Wait, did
embarrassing.
you? Wait, why do I not remember this?
Probably because we were little.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I met you when you were pretty little, because I started working... We had the same O&M instructor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sorry if I was annoying when I was a little kid. Just,
Oh, no. I
going
thought you
back
were
all the
cute.
years.
You weren't
Oh,
annoying.
thanks. Now I am, though.
Agreed. Yeah, she is.
It's okay. We all go through an annoying phase.
Oh, yeah. But anyways, Campbell, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, we
I
really
really
appreciate it.
enjoyed this. I hope you all you listeners enjoyed this too. Campbell's awesome. I wish I knew her
No,
better.
you had some really great points to make. So
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. I really enjoyed it. And hopefully I didn't talk too much.
No, you were
didn't.
great.
No, we
Honestly,
like
it makes
whenever
our
people
job
actually
easier
talk.
when
Oh,
people
yeah.
actually talk versus being like, yeah. And then I'm like, but yeah, everyone follow us on Spotify, subscribe to us on YouTube, comment, send us to your
out our
friends.
Instagram
Check out our
page.
Instagram page.
We need to post more on there, but
Yeah, we do. And yeah, every Saturday at noon is look out for our episodes, and we hope you enjoyed.
thank you
We
guys.
won't see you later.